What's going on, guys? I'm Tim Kelly. He's Anthony SanFilippo. This is Phillies Stoplight.
And this Red October version of Phillies Stoplight is being brought to you by Wapner Newman, Philadelphia's personal injury attorney.
Well, and as thankful as we are for Wapner Newman, the Phillies are in danger of there only being one more Wapner Newman sponsored episode of Phillies Stoplight this postseason after losing the second game. They did make a valiant effort in the ninth inning. For much of this game, it kind of felt like, right or wrong, like they were just going to kind of roll over and this was going to happen. They made an effort in the ninth inning, had the tying run 90 feet away, and ultimately weren't able to come through in the ninth inning.
Yeah, they lose 4-3 to the Dodgers in Game 2, trail 2-0. They're on the brink of elimination now. This is a monstrous hill to climb.
Yeah.
More so because of the opponent than anything else. Right? If they were down 2-0 to a mediocre team, you sit there and go, they could still win 3 in a row. I think it's going to be a really difficult thing to win 3 in a row. But there are some things from this game, Tim, that we have to jump into.
Yeah.
Because there's things that everybody's going to be talking about. Of course, the first one is what happens in the ninth inning when that rally's happening, and then all of a sudden, curious decision from the bench, and I think it kind of impacted what the ultimate finale was.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll say this, I'm generally not a fan of bunting. I don't like giving away outs. In theory, I'm not against Bryson Stott against a left-handed pitcher laying down a bunt there. I do get the idea of getting greedy and trying to take the lead, but I also understand Stott's a better hitter against right-handed pitching, and you're saying there, like, you're taking your chances that he's going to get out most likely, and you want to try and get the runner to third base at the very least. You had nobody out at that point. The problem is he squared the first time, and it was clear that the Dodgers knew what was up and were charging. He pulls it back because it wasn't a strike. Then he squares a second time, puts down what, like, in theory, it was a fine bunt. The problem is Mookie Betts was halfway to home plate, and Rob Thompson said after the game essentially that Mookie disguised that well. I don't get that when you had a prior play.
Yeah.
To realize that Mookie knew what was coming. Everybody in the stadium knew.
Yeah,
what
just
was
to clarify, it was Max Muncy who charged.
Yes.
Yeah, Mookie went to cover third,
Mookie
right?
went to
So the
cover
play is
third.
Mookie there. So yeah, and so Rob said that he disguised it well, and that's all well and good. Maybe he did, but that's not how Bryson Stott described it. When we just talked to Bryson Stott in the clubhouse, and Stott said that it was a call from the bench. Obviously, it was a signal. We got the signal for the bunt, and that he saw exactly what they were doing on the first pitch.
Yeah.
Right when he squared and he pulls back, he saw the rotation. He saw Mookie going to third. He said because of that, he wanted to deaden the bunt more. Because he didn't want them to have a play. He said, I can't bunt to first. That was also one of the signs because of where Freddie Freeman was. He was coming so hard. The first baseman has a much cleaner throw to third base in that spot. So he's definitely not trying to bunt it to first. He's trying to bunt it between the pitcher and third base. And where he got it down from, Max Muncy's right there, and Mookie beats Nick Castellanos to third. This is why it's a bad idea, okay? A couple reasons in my mind, and you tell me what you think. One, you just had 3 consecutive hits. There's a lot of momentum in the building, all right? Dave Roberts tried to give you back the game by going to relievers who stink right
Not
now.
putting Roki Sasaki in. I don't care if they won that. It's in defense. It's one thing if you say, well, he's a starter, he's not used to pitching this. He was available to come in the game. Why wasn't he in the game?
And say you're relying on Blake Trinan, who, if we recall, blew the no-hitter for or the end of the game of almost no-hitter for the Yamamoto, right? And then he brings in Alex Vesia, who's been a little bit leaky of late as well. So why he's going to those guys? So he's basically gift wrapping this to the Phillies. There's a lot of momentum, but Nick Castellanos is on second base.
Yeah.
He's not fleet of foot,
No,
right?
he's not.
So not only are you now putting yourself in a situation where you're going to bunt, you know you're going to bat Harrison Bader next, pinch hitter, but you also know he can't run. Right? So I know what you're thinking. Your thought process is get the runner to third, he hits a fly ball, we tie the game and live to fight another inning, right? But keep the momentum going, slow runner, let Bryson Stott try and pull the ball. You had pull the ball on the ground, the runner's making it to third, no problem. Then you score on the single by Bader, and then you weren't going to bat for Max Kepler. You had 2 lefties that had to face a lefty there.
Well, and Rob Thompson was asked after the game, basically, did you feel the crunch of your roster there? And he didn't come out and say, yes, it's just more of it is what it is. You knew Bader was coming up next, so you couldn't pinch run for Nick Castellanos because you knew if Bader got on and he did not look good going to first. I'm sure they told him, don't do something that gets you injured more, but that did not look like somebody capable. Like, if he had hit a ball in the gap, I don't know what would have happened. Like,
Right.
Harrison Bader clearly could not run the bases there. So you had to have Weston Wilson save to eventually come on and pinch run for him. Otherwise, maybe you do pinch run for Castellanos. But knowing that, and knowing that Castellanos, who had just a whirlwind of a game, as often seems to be the case, knowing that, that should factor into your equation on bunting as well. And I'll push back on people that say, well, maybe he should have just stayed at second base. If Nick Castellanos had stayed at second base, they field that clean, they throw to first, and nothing. I feel like people would be irate that he didn't go to third base.
He did. Castellanos was not in the
broke
wrong.
On the bunt.
Yeah, he did
Mookie
nothing
Betts
wrong.
made a very good play, and this time it was Mookie Betts.
Yes.
Made a very good play at third base to make sure he got the tag down and prevented Castellanos from getting in safe, because Castellanos, prior to that, stretched a single into a double and made a good slide. I'll give him credit on that. That's something, I mean, he got the bat on the ball, he tied the game, or put them within one. The problem is, prior to that, he made a catch early in the game in right field that was, he caught it, but the route was pretty disastrous. And then he had another play where Freddie Freeman doubles into right field.
This is in the 7th inning from hell, right?
Yes, he doubles, and for some reason he throws into the cutoff man. In post game, he acknowledged he didn't think Freddie Freeman was going to go to second base. He got the ball into the cutoff man. You are worried about the runner on third going home. I'm not downplaying that, but had he realized that there is a play at second base, and he also said that no one was yelling to get it into second base. So in a sense, from him, it was a tip your cap to Freddie Freeman. Good play by him. But it's so much of that game Nick Castellanos is involved in, and really, if they end up winning that game, or if Bryson Stott singles there, he's a hero. Instead, there's a lot to take in.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there was just the Phillies had a lot of missed opportunities, right? And you talk about a couple of them there, like the bunt's a missed opportunity, the throw, if he throws to second. If you get Freeman, he doesn't score, then the Dodgers only have 3 runs instead of 4. Or maybe they only have the one. Maybe they only have 1 for that matter, right? I mean, so there's a lot of things that could have gone differently. And then there's also other missed opportunities, Tim. And the other missed opportunities were the chances with runners on base and the guys just not coming through. Yet again, top of the order, pretty miserable.
Well, I'll separate Turner, because Turner did have a big single.
He did.
He had a walk. All 3 of them walked. But Turner, and people can call this an excuse, whatever. Trey Turner missed a month of time, and it's to come back, and it's great that he got a hit at all, really. To come back after missing that time and immediately, I know he played the 1 game against the Twins, but immediately jump into the postseason, it's very difficult to get your timing down. So to a degree, I'll excuse that, especially because he did have a single and put the ball in play at the end, and the Tommy Edman almost threw it away.
Yeah.
So it is what it is in that case. Bryce Harper and Kyle Schwarber have been bad in this series. There's no other way to put it. Kyle Schwarber's had an incredible season. It is not to this point translated to this, and both of them historically have been very good in the playoffs, but have not come through so far in this series. And really, I don't know if Bryce Harper's wrist is bothering him again or not, but it just something seems off.
Way too much swing and miss.
Yeah.
And most of it, especially with Schwarber, is in zone.
Yeah.
Like, that's what's befuddling to me, because these are 2 guys who punish pitchers, who leave balls over the middle of the plate normally.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, they're not even making contact on pitches over the middle. I mean, I know Harper chased a little bit today on the 1 strikeout, but that's what's the thing that doesn't make any sense. Like, these 2 guys should be taking advantage of the pitches where they are, and at least a single here or there, right? It's just they're not getting the job done. And that's really what it comes down to. Look, the Phillies made a furious rally, scored 3 runs in the last 2 innings after being down 4-0. You give them credit for resiliency, but where the hell was it the first 7 innings of the game?
You do give them credit for resiliency, because I think if the Phillies just lose this game 4-0, it is an even harsher tone. But the reality is, like, there's no moral victories. There's an old Sports Center clip of Trent Dilfer being like, you can't lose games in this league and still win.
Exactly.
Which was stupid, but also I completely get it. And it's one of those things where it's like, particularly in the postseason, that is true. Like, either you win the game or you lose the game, and the Phillies are now down 2-0. That's where it's at. And beyond that, Orion Kerkering comes in, struggles to hold the inherited runners again. Matt Strahm gives up a hit to Shohei Ohtani.
Yeah.
So
I'll
it
tell
hasn't
you,
gone well.
The thing with Kerkering, and I think it's pretty regular with him, he'll come in, he'll get you the first 2 outs, look really good doing it, and then somehow the third guy gets you. It just always seems to be the case with him. And that's just, it's just weird. Like, he just can't close out the inning. And that's got to be frustrating for him. And you're right, Matt Strahm, they had Strahm ready for Ohtani, and Ohtani got a single. It was the first hit Ohtani had in the 2 games. He looked awful at the plate prior to that in 2 games.
Put a great swing on this. And Edmundo Sosa's been a great player, but he does not have the range that Bryson Stott does at second base.
Correct.
Part of me wonders if Stott knocks that down, but it was smoked. So even if he knocks it down, Ohtani's getting on base. So they're in a rough situation with the bullpen. Like, Duran comes in, you have the light entrance, which I think we can all agree. The entrance is cool. I am the number one on that. It was bad game 1. It was worse tonight, and you heard boos, and they were not boos directly of Joan Duran. They were boos of
read the room.
Read the room. I mean, a few years ago, it was Read the Room with Craig Kimbrell when they did the light show, but I remain to this day convinced they did that so they could say, oh, they're booing the light show, not Craig Kimbrell, because they knew after how Arizona went, Kimbrell was going to get booed, so they did that. In this case, it just, why are you doing it? It makes it feel so meaningless when you do it in a situation like this. And I get that they did the whole fire thing for the postseason and they wanted to use that, but you've soured people on it. I feel like these
these 2 games, they really blew it. They really blew it with that. Well, here we are, Tim. We're 12 minutes into this episode, and we haven't even gotten to the other flashpoint, which is coming.
Yeah, it's
which is for Game 3.
Honestly, was not surprised to hear this, but Aaron Nola will take the ball for Game 3. Ranger Suarez was available in the bullpen both of these games, and honestly, I don't know if there was a spot tonight where it made sense to use him. You wondered if Jesus Luzardo would come out after once in the order. Until he didn't, Jesus Luzardo was great tonight.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there was a spot to use him. I can't come up with a justification unless Ranger Suarez is still hurt from taking that line drive off of what he called muscle in his final start, or whatever the case is. Whether that's still bothering him or there's something else, I don't have a reason. And Rob Thompson said post-game, well, Nola's never pitching the out of the bullpen. That's true. That's great. It's a best-of-5 series. Like, you need your best pitchers out there. And I get that Ranger Suarez didn't have a great September. It also wasn't like he had a 7 ERA. It's not like he had a 6 ERA the whole season, which is what Aaron Nola did. And I understand Aaron Nola's had an accomplished career here. He pitched very well in his last outing. He looked good in the sim game. There is no argument in my mind for using Aaron Nola over Ranger Suarez in Game 3.
Yeah, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. And as you know, I've been one of the most fervent Aaron, don't fall. The most fervent.
His shoes aren't comfortable, and I was like trying to move around a little bit. And
you didn't wear your suit today?
No, I didn't. No.
You
You're about the 100th person to remark.
You dressed like it was like your 1990s grunge in Seattle. I mean,
Well,
just pointing out.
That mood might fit the Phillies.
Is that only
right
because
now.
you only have one suit?
I do only have one suit. Yes.
Who only has one suit?
Me? You don't even have one suit.
All right, back to the conversation. Aaron Nola, yeah, I've been one of the more fervent Aaron Nola supporters. I don't know if supporter, but when I write about Aaron Nola or I talk about Aaron Nola, I justify his existence in this rotation and everything about it.
One of the best pitchers in the history of the team.
Yeah, absolutely. I sit here and tell you I am not understanding why, unless Ranger Suarez is hurt, they're just not telling us why Aaron Nola is starting this game. Now, that said, Aaron Nola can go out and pitch a beauty of a game, and all of a sudden it turns into see, they were right all along, and we'll see what ends up happening. But the fact that you didn't, if you were planning on using Aaron Nola in Game 3 all along, the reason you didn't use Ranger Suarez in Game 1 when we had the 7th inning meltdown is even more perplexing.
Yeah.
Right? Like, if this was the plan all along, it only makes it look worse for Rob Thompson in my mind. And so there's a lot to question the manager in this playoff series so far through 2 games. Rob's got to he's got to get back on the horse a little bit
Well,
because he seemed a little bit desperate at times.
Yeah, and I think Rob has done an excellent job here as the Phillies manager. But if Nola goes out and gets shelled in Game 3 and the Phillies are swept, what is the mood going to be? I mean, it is what it is, right or wrong. That it's going to be a discussion point of, do you need to make a change at manager? Has this gotten stale? Whatever the case is. And we talked about this. Like, if you want to bring Schwarber back, you want to bring Real Muto back, does it make sense to get rid of the manager and certainly to get rid of Kevin Long, who Kyle Schwarber credits his career turnaround to? Probably not, but it's going to be a real talking point. And when you talk about making changes after Game 3, if you're swept in this series, you fall short again in the postseason, I think it's at least a fair discussion to have.
Well, here's the key thing, Tim, that you got to look at, right? Let's say they do get swept. Let's say they, on Wednesday we're out there in Los Angeles and they lose, and they lose 3-0. How do you roll everything back almost exactly the same? Because there's a real belief that Schwarber's going to re-sign here around baseball.
I think
there's a real belief that JT's going to re-sign here around baseball.
Yeah.
If you're not changing the manager too, and you're keeping the hitting coach because, like you said, it matters to these players, you're basically running it back a 5th and a 6th year minimum with the same group of guys.
Well, and I think, to tell you the truth, I think Kevin Long's done a good job this year. Like, Bryson Stott made a mid-season turnaround that changed the course of his career. He was headed towards non-tender discussion and had a really good second half based off of the change that Kevin Long suggested. Why it took till that point, I don't know. But it worked, and it is true that wherever Kevin Long's been, they've won. He has a great reputation around the league. I thought last year maybe they'd make that change. They didn't. And they had a good offense for certainly the second half of this season. It's just, you don't want to, I get it, the series is not over. You don't want to shovel dirt on the Phillies, but the hole is being dug, and they need to figure out something. This would be the type of thing, if they make this comeback, maybe not because they're not from Boston, but this would be the type of thing that they should make a documentary about. That's how stacked the odds are against them, both because you're just trying to win 3 in a row, and the Dodgers look like the Dodgers again.
Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's why I think it's a real long shot at this point. One thing though, if you ask the guys in that clubhouse, they believe they can do it.
Yeah, they do.
Nick Castellanos said he feels like they have the best collection of baseball players.
Yeah, maybe the best collection of talent in the league.
And then Trey Turner said, we've won 3 in a row against good teams before. Why can't we do it again? Like, so there are players who are in there who firmly believe, and I know that people are going to say, oh, well, they have to say that. And you're right. They do have to say that publicly. But we're around these guys all the time. Do you get the sense that they are woe is me at all?
No, I don't think they're woe is me.
Right.
I think
that they believe
that.
it,
and
right?
you need a certain level of delusion to be a successful pro athlete. And I don't even mean that like disrespectfully. You need to convince yourself that, because you and me and everybody here is like, this is probably a wrap.
Yeah.
I said it the other night, if they lose game 2, they're not going to win the series.
Right.
So we can have that mindset. They cannot have that mindset. And I do think in most cases, like, it is genuine. They think that they can come back, and they should think that they can come back. It is a really talented group, but the way the first 2 games have gone, you had your chances. Like, tonight is a night, if you're going to win that series, I said at the beginning, like, I thought the Phillies would win in 5 because I thought the Dodgers bullpen would cough a game up and we'd win that way. Tonight was that night, and you didn't take advantage of it. You didn't take advantage of whether it was Dave Roberts or the front office telling Dave Roberts not using Roki Sasaki there to begin the 9th inning was unimaginably stupid. But you've had your fair share on the other side, and again, whether that's Rob Thompson or what's being told to him, I don't know, but the way that this series has been managed does not make much sense.
No, it does not. But managers get crazy in the playoffs. For whatever reason, playoffs make people think strangely instead of just sticking with what works. The one thing I wanted to ask you and point out that Trey Turner said that I thought was interesting. He said he doesn't feel like that in these first 2 games they beat themselves. Because remember, he was the guy last year up in Citi Field after they got beat by the Mets who said, we beat ourselves. But now he's saying, I don't feel like these 2 losses, we've beat ourselves. He says he's felt like they've played well. just didn't get the big hit at the right time.
Yeah. Well, I think
Are
there's
you
some
in
truth
agreement
to that.
with that?
There's some truth to that, but it also doesn't really matter. Like,
Yeah.
you're down 2-0, and if that's the takeaway at the end of the series, the follow-up is, okay, so the Dodgers are just way better than you. Like,
Yeah.
and I don't think the Dodgers are way better than the Phillies. That's the
Right.
where I struggle with it. Certainly they weren't during the regular season, and maybe we did underestimate to a degree the ability of the Dodgers to kind of flip the switch, because Blake Snell, like their pitching, their starting pitching did all get healthy at once, because entering like September, it was like, how are they possibly going to piece this together? And then all of a sudden, Blake Snell comes back, Ohtani hits his stride. So you do have that, and maybe we underestimated that, but the Phillies still won 96 games. Like, this should not be a sweep. Like you said, if you lose this series in 5, obviously that sucks for the Phillies, but it is what it is. You got a bad matchup early in the playoffs against probably the best team in the league. Losing it in 3, there's not that much of a talent discrepancy.
No, correct. And I think that's the key. That's the key issue, right? When it comes down to is getting swept is different than losing this series in 5 games, right? And I'm not certain it's getting to Game 5 now, right, at all. Whereas I thought if they would have won tonight, I felt like there was a really good chance it would get to Game 5, right? And so like it makes a big difference, but we'll see. We got a long flight tomorrow, Tim, and another.
And my check-in's in about 8 hours.
Yes, I gotta be at the airport in like 7 hours, which is wonderful, and I still have a story to write too.
Yeah.
So that ought to be fun.
Yeah, we will end it there. Shout out to Wapner Newman as always, and like Anthony said, we'll have great coverage on Pattison one way or another. Check us out there, and we'll talk to you guys next time.